everybody, and welcome to another review. I really hope you like this shirt because I'm about to pre-record something like 3 reviews, and so you're gonna see this shirt and this really crap lighting for a bit. So we're only 3 days into April and I've already read like 5 books. Yeah. I've also pretty much decided that I've already developed some sort of theme for April. I'm just gonna have to call this like Angsty April because I've read 3 angsty books and reading a 4th one, and I don't understand why I'm reading all this angst. There's just no explanation for it. But today I'm here to talk about the first book that I read in April. I literally started this in the very end of March 31st, finished in the wee hours of April 1st, and that is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Dellaira. So fun story about this book. It had been promoted by Epic Reads on Instagram for a while now, and so I was very aware of this book and very aware of the concept. Admittedly, I was intrigued, even though I'm not a fan of epistolary novels. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term epistolary novel, it is kind of what it sounds like. It's just a novel usually told in letters, newspaper clippings, something like that. One of the most famous epistolary novels, of course, is Dracula by Bram Stoker. But I was aware of this book, and despite the fact, again, I'm not a huge fan of epistolary novels, I was wildly intrigued by the idea of Love Letters to the Dead, and I mentioned it to one of my co-workers. So, March 31st, I'm working an extremely long feeling shift at the registers, and I did actually step away for a second to do something, and I come back and this is hanging out next to my register. I'm going, where did you come from, you beautiful thing, you? My coworker, who is incidentally the lead bookseller in our children's department, therefore also the young adult / teen department, had left it there as a little present for me because I'd mentioned it and she was shelving it. So I started reading this, which was a really horrible idea because I kind of wanted to cry by page 10. I was just a massive sap about this book. It's just ridiculous. So the basic concept of this book is that it is told through the letters of a girl named Laurel, who's given an assignment by her English teacher to write a letter to a dead person. She actually makes a joke that she goes, I probably should be writing to some famous dead president or something. Instead, she writes to Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain was the favorite singer of her older sister, whom we learn has passed. That's no spoilers, I promise you learn it in the first letter. She ends up not turning in the initial letter to Kurt Cobain to her teacher, but continues this theme of writing to famous dead people. I apologize if the way I said that sounds particularly crass. No offense is meant. What follows is a series of letters to people such as Janis Joplin, Heath Ledger, Amelia Earhart, and consistently to Kurt Cobain from Laurel, and we watch her deal with not only the normal issues of entering high school and sort of going through that awkward hormone phase and just with growing up that a lot of teenagers go through, but with something else. We know that her older sister May has passed, but we don't know any details of this, and they get slowly revealed and unveiled throughout the story in a way that is immensely clever. This book makes use of the fact that it's an epistolary novel by not only playing with the idea of an unreliable narrator, but also the fact that you're in a highly limited perspective. Now, one of my big complaints with epistolary novels is usually that I'm in a highly limited perspective, and this is often a problem for me when I read anything that's a first-person narrative as well, especially if I'm not a fan of the character voice / authorial voice. Ms. Dellaira's authorial voice is spot on, and she creates the character of Laurel extremely well. I loved the meandering way that things get revealed, because it's very much like the human consciousness. We don't always think in a linear fashion of cause to effect, or just from one event going on through the other. The mind wanders and wiggles. The Doctor Who reference of wibbly wobbly timey-wimey is just so apt when it comes to the human brain. And that's part of what gives Love Letters to the Dead its charm, but what gives it its gut-wrenching emotional power is not only the content, but the deftness with which Ms. Dellaira executes it. She tackles some extremely heavy topics and does it extremely well. She is up there in reminding me of Laurel Sanderson, whose book Speak, which just turned 15, is one of my favorite novels of all time, and she's also very reminiscent of Stephen Chbosky, who wrote Perks of Being a Wallflower. I learned after finishing this book that he was actually her mentor, and so that is why there's a great similarity to Perks of Being a Wallflower in terms of the voice of the characters, how they speak, and the brilliance with which the author is using the limited perspective. Overall, I have to say, if you are a fan of Perks of Being a Wallflower or anything by Laurel Sanderson, you must check out Love Letters to the Dead. It's absolutely gut-wrenching. It's done so well. It's so wonderful. It's also beautiful. Can we just... this. That's all for me tonight, you guys. So until next time, cheers.